So I'm going to talk to you guys about customer profile interviews, and we have just found these to be an incredibly effective way in which to gather insights, especially early stage innovation. So let's unpack that a little bit. So there are three challenges when it comes to the idea of running customer interviews. That first one, not getting out of the building, unstructured interviews, and how do customer profile interviews address that? And then also this challenge of the difficulty of extracting insights. So if we look at that first one, the difficulty and the challenge of unstructured interviews, the principle we want to keep in mind is that customer interviews are challenging because they require a structured approach to gather enough data, detect patterns, and make informed decisions. We want to be thinking about that end goal. We don't just want to be getting out of the building, talking to customers. We want to use that data to then make informed decisions. And without structures, insights become scattered, making it harder to compare results and act on them effectively. So even you see here already, like comparing results tied to that idea of detecting patterns. So this ties to that second challenge of the difficulty in extracting insights. So customer profile interviews, which we'll look into in detail, they can quickly be set up. So one of the things that is often the case when we're working with teams is people have never run an interview. So being able to quickly run them, get set up, and do it at a high quality level is very important. If you have bad data coming in, it's going to be bad data coming out. So once you have them running at a high quality level, then they can provide a clear process for gathering and acting on customer insights. So what is a customer profile interview? So first things first, we have here our customer profile, which is just a representation of your customer. You see here customer jobs, pains, and gains. So the jobs, what are the things they're trying to get done? Pains, what are the things kind of holding them back that are painful? The gains, those positive kind of outcomes that you want. And the first step that you kind of see here on this slide is you're going to map out your customer understanding using jobs, pains, and gains. It was a very powerful example. We had a Canadian team. They were a consumer packaged goods company. They realized their innovation process was based on assumptions. They reached out to us. They wanted to test. They wanted to experiment. And this team came in. They had zero experience setting up, running, and analyzing customer interviews. So they didn't come in with lots of know-how on how to do this already. But using the Strategizer platform, and again, we'll look at that in a second, they were able to run 20 interviews over a few weeks. And let's look at what came from that. So first, they mapped out their understanding of their customer. They mapped the jobs, pains, and gains, and then they got ready to go talk to actual customers. And from those 20 interviews, they had in total 34 sticky notes of jobs, but 91% of the time, so from those 20 interviews, 91% of those jobs were deleted at least once. So their understanding of what was actually true for their customer, you can see, and now even go back to points I was mentioning earlier, this isn't maybe they said this, maybe they didn't. They know with certainty that even have a percentage, 91%. So these patterns begin to emerge. Again, with the pains they saw as well, the majority of their pains were not true. So 55% of the pains were not true at all. So half of the pains, half of the people said, no, that doesn't apply to me at all. So immediately half of their understanding of their pains was able to be removed. An interesting thing happened. One of their gains, one specific gain, 75% of the people interviewed of the 20 had tons of comments about that specific gain. So if we look at the before picture, they had mapped their understanding of what they thought their customer was. And then after you look, they have a completely different understanding of what that actually looked like. And this happened in the course of a couple weeks. And obviously, we know innovation, it's critical that you're addressing the most important jobs, pains, and gains of your customers. If you have a value prop that's not rooted in customer understanding, it's going to lead to issues down the road. So this allowed them to then, after doing this testing, present an evidence-based presentation to their leadership team, made them look good. And then the decision for their idea, it wasn't intuition, it wasn't someone's who has the most power making the decision. It was easily traceable to the evidence because those patterns were so clear. So our point here that we're trying to hit on is really that customer profile interviews can be quickly set up, are easy to run at a high quality level, and they provide a clear process for gathering and acting on customer insights. And now just to get even more practical what that looks like. So on the Strategizer platform, we have the ability to run these types of interviews. And let's just walk you guys through what that would look like. So step one would be mapping your customer understanding. So you would be putting down your jobs, pains, and gains. So what are the jobs for nurses? Okay, again, you could start doing that. But one thing we want to call out, and I'll even show you guys on the actual platform, you see the little AI button up here. And you can use AI to assist you. Now, this is a new thing we're rolling out where it's going to know what you've already kind of inputted around your idea. And if you've already started mapping some of your jobs, pains, and gains, the platform, the Strategizer platform knows those ideas and use them to feed into the AI. So the more you interact with the platform, the more the AI becomes even more helpful. And then two, if we're running these types of interviews on the Strategizer platform, you would then be designing the experiment and adding the customer profile. We're super excited about this new feature on our platform. So you're now seeing our new feature, this new widget, and there's three kind of tabs you see up here. There's this design, test, and analyze tab. So we're starting in the design tab. You would select the experiment and you would select the artifact. So say I went ahead and did that. You would then see that same customer profile that I had kind of populated earlier gets pulled in, and this allows you to then run an interview with that customer profile, and it would open up. So here now we're on the test tab, and I just kind of put in a fake little instance here, but you could add people's names of who you're going to interview, and when you're ready, hit the button, get started, and it opens up this focused view. So say I got this wireless medical device, I want to talk to nurses, I meet with John. And what it does, it's going to hide all the sticky notes so that you're not overwhelmed. John's not overwhelmed when I'm talking to him. I could click on the first sticky note and it's going to reveal it. And just like I mentioned earlier, I could say, John, and obviously set context for what jobs, pains, and gains are. But John, is this you? Improve communication with patients as a nurse. And he might say, yeah, that's definitely me. That's definitely a job that I have. And he might also say, nope, that's not me. Maybe you have to add in a different sticky note. He says like, well, it's sort of this, but actually it's this other one. So it allows you, and once you've kind of gone through and unhidden all of the different sticky notes, you're then able to rank. You see the rankings here, your top three. And now this artifact centers the conversation and it centers the data. So you're able to then, if we look at the next step, analyze and adapt your customer profile. So if we look at what that looks like, now we're on the Analyze tab of the interview widget on the platform, and you begin to see a ranking. So we have jobs, pains, and gains, and here we start to see a ranking. So let me zoom in a little bit, make it easier to see what we're looking at here. So like for jobs, we talked to 3 people so far, and we're beginning to get a picture of the top job. So the top one you see here is feel confident in patient care. You see 3 people who said, yes, I have that job, but you contrast it with something like enhanced teamwork with real-time data sharing. Well, 3 people said, no, I don't have that job. So you begin to see a picture. You should be seeing here now, I'm actually on the Strategizer platform, and I kind of have just set it up. So say we were just to go through those 4 steps that I walked you guys through. I come in here, I have my wireless medical device for nurses. So I might start mapping out my customer jobs. I might say, oh, I need to take care of patients. When I think about nurses, but then I might say, I'm kind of running out of ideas. I can use AI, generate maybe a mix of different types of jobs, get them added onto here to the board. So you see here, this one was just a blank one. If I want to come in here, like I had mentioned earlier, I can accept that job. And then obviously, I'm just for the sake of our conversation, I'm just going to accept them all and move forward to that next step. Obviously, you would actually put some critical time into thinking about this. We also have a mini coach feature where it can analyze and give you feedback on the jobs. But that next step I mentioned was designing your experiment. So here you see this new feature. Like I said, we're just rolling this out, super excited about it. So I would click get started. My tab opens here. Again, that design tab, select an experiment. This is something that you would have worked on before if you're going through a Strategizer innovation sprint. And I have a bunch of these nurse ones here. I can just add this, and this allows you to then pull it in and get started here. So if I then move down to that 3rd step of running interviews, I have this one already kind of set up, ready to go. And you can see I already added in a different user. So maybe I want to talk to Sarah, I can get these going. And then once I'm ready, I would then get this focus view. So I can add as many people. We often recommend 15 to 20 to begin to really detect those patterns. Open it up so when I'm in that conversation with a nurse, I then see this view that I mentioned earlier, and I can work through one at a time. So, hi, Sarah, you're a nurse. Is this a job that you have, improving communication with patients, excuse me? She says, yeah, like that's a job. That's something I need to do. Maybe this one, she says it's not. Maybe this one you have to edit a little bit, and there's some side note of some aspect to it. Once you've gone through and done all of these, you can begin to start ranking the top ones, their top jobs, pains, and gains, and you can finish that interview. So if we then scroll down to analyzing and adapting our customer profile, say I talked to John, I talked to Sarah, I talked to a couple different people, I then am able to see here that these 3 people I already talked to are done. And now if I'm on this Analyze tab, I can see that view that I mentioned earlier, where I have the top ranked jobs, I have the top ranked customer pains. And now that picture I showed earlier of that Canadian team, you can begin to see a picture of the before and after, the best guess of who your customer is, to then moving towards a validated understanding that you can then build a value prop around.